So Monica, thank you so much for joining me today on a Monday.
My pleasure.
In your beautiful home. Can you tell us a bit about this piano that you have, that you're sitting in front of?
So I bought this piano 2 years ago, so it's a very new baby, and it's a C3X, and then it's Yamaha, as you can see. It has the acoustic equipment installed here, which means if neighbor has complained, which I have been very lucky, then there were none, but just in case, and then I still could practice it in midnight. And it's a gorgeous instrument, and I did great work, especially in the lockdown. That was just the perfect time to have it.
Is the touch quite similar to an acoustic grand piano?
It has a very slightly difference there, but it is different, but almost you can't really recognize it.
Right.
And the sound they recorded from the real Steinways, actually, so the sound are amazing.
Do you prefer playing on a Yamaha, or do you prefer playing on a Steinway? Do you have a preference?
Well, I think Yamaha is more heavy in terms of the touch, and the Steinway is more light, more crispy, more sparkle, I think. Yeah, I prefer Steinway, but they are too expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, but this Yamaha is really good enough for me at home practicing and stuff. Yeah.
So, and also you studied at Guildhall twice for bachelor's and for master's, right?
What do you mean twice?
So you studied a bachelor's degree at
Yes.
Guildhall?
Oh yeah, you call that twice, yeah.
Twice, yeah. So, and you went back again for master's. Is that
Yes. So, I started in 2013 in Guildhall, and I really liked the place, so I just continued there for master.
What made you stay there twice, like second time?
I think it's the professor. No, I was really enjoying Noriko's class, and I also had a new professor there, and because I only started with him in the probably last bit of bachelor, so I thought it's very interesting to continue. I also had great support and knowledge from Laura Roberts, who's also were my professor in undergrad. So yeah, I think it's the professors and the whole environment in Guildhall is very homey and friendly and very supportive. That's why I stayed mostly.
How is your relationship with your professors? Is it very close? Is it almost like a mother figure or a father figure?
Maybe not mother or father figure, but I would say they're very, very sweet, and they are very get very personal, but professionally as well.
Yeah.
So if we're going to talk about individuals, the three professors I had, Laura, she's so supportive. I was having some really hard time because of family reasons. She was always there for you. And Noriko, she always inspired me so much. And when I visit her in Japan, even to have lessons in the holiday time, she would take me out,
You went to Japan just to have lessons?
Yeah, there were times that I went to Japan for lessons, like in the summer holiday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Was it a different experience having a lesson abroad, or was it a different experience having a lesson in London with Noriko?
No, to be honest, I wouldn't say there's lots of difference, because you're having the lesson with the same person, and we know each other very well by that time, so it's nothing awkward or, it's all very comfortable. So I had lesson in her house, and I think it was because I had some audition to do, and then she was helping me to prepare it. So I needed lesson in the summer holidays. So it was, and I traveled around in Japan a little bit as well. So all of that was so great. And and Philip, who I started mostly from master, he's always there for you, and he taught me so much of how to work around the piano, about sound, about we could go into lots of details, but
Yeah.
in general, I would say I'm very close to them. They're awesome people.
Does that say a lot about your relationship with Noriko, that you were dedicated to travel across the world just to have lessons with her? Because in sort of normal circumstances, people would just get another teacher, right, to teach them in the UK. But you went across to Japan to have a lesson with her. Does
Well,
that say something about your relationship?
That's your professor, so you can obviously go for some, master classes, which are very helpful as well, but you also do want your own professor's input. I had lessons in that time with Laura, who I was studying with at that time as well, in London as well, so it's not like I only had lessons with Noriko just to travel to Japan.
Right.
Yeah, so I had Laura there in England, but I also wanted Noriko's input, so I would travel to Japan for that test. That's why.
What's the most memorable and useful thing that Noriko has taught you with her tutorship? What's the most useful thing that she has said to you about music?
I think she helped me a lot on imaginations,
Right.
and to understand music, here rather than just here. She's also extremely helpful with technique, and I think it's just in general. She boosts the musicality in me of development on the piano.
Is there a specific section in mind that she taught you that you can give as an example?
I think it's the strength. She's such a strong person, and it's the strength that her strength. She showed me with her own action of how tough it can be to be a musician, but how powerful you also can be. I think that's the most inspiring point, I would say, that I got from her, is that she's so strong, she's so powerful, and always so motivated, and you learn from how people act, and especially when it's your professor, you're seeing her all the time, and that's more than anything she could say to you, just to show you what a good musician should be like.
Yeah. I just want to touch upon the word strength. Are you talking more about physical strength and musical strength?
I'm talking about the mentality strength.
Mental strength.
Yeah, because as a musician, we have so many obstacles to get through. Technique wise, musically wise, we always thinking, which interpretation is better? Is this one? Is that? We always, or we might fix on one, and later we think maybe not. Things like this. You need something that's a really strong core to support you go through all of that. And I think it's the mental strength that I'm most admiring her about.
Where do you think the mental strength is? Is it the memory of music, playing such difficult pieces in front of people, or is it the run up to a concert? That's where the mental strength is. Where do you think is the most intense? Is it playing pieces in front of people?
I think it's the combination of all of these things that you mentioned. Obviously, we need to overcome our fear before stage, these nervous things. You need a lot of strength inside. You have to accept sometimes it goes excellent and sometimes it goes not as good as you wish, all these things. And actually, if you ask a lot of performers when they come out, they always have things they think that it could be better. It's always the case. Of course, you get people always also say, it was just fabulous. And you have those good days. But you don't have those good days every day. So you need the strength inside you to keep you going, even if something goes wrong. But it's just for me personally, I had to I want to improve all the time, and you always find things that could be better for next time. So how to prepare yourself to not have breakdowns before that, and then also how to carry on, I think, is the most important thing, and what you have learned from this time to use to make it useful for next time. I think that is the strength that requires us to keep going. Keep going is the key. Yeah,
because like piano, I don't think a lot of people know this, but piano playing is more than just physical, right? It's not more. It's more than just playing the notes.
Of course, yeah.
It's a part mental game as well, a mental challenge.
Definitely. It's the combination of your mind, your body, your spirit. You need to clearly prepare yourself here very well before performance about all the details you wanted to do. But then when you're on there, it's also the emotions that drives the music, actually, because if it's all just here, then it's empty. You can say, oh, it was so well worked out, but what you really need is the passion. It have to come from heart. It will only be moving for the listener or yourself. You have to have meaning through it. So yeah, I think it's definitely not just fingers on the keyboard. It's everything.
Yeah. Is there a technical challenge that you're facing right now that you wish to overcome? So maybe double thirds are not great at the moment, or maybe some octaves that are not great, or is there any specific musical challenges that are physical that you're trying to improve?
No, I don't think, not that I'm absolutely amazing in technique, I don't have any problems, but I think it all depends on the situation of this section. Why is it? It's all about finding out why. Yeah, I used to feel like, oh, I can't play my thirds well, I can't play my octaves brilliant enough. But then later, that's what I also learned in my master later on, when I become a bit more mature than I used to be. It's all about finding out why it's difficult, and then you solve it in the correct way, which serves the purpose of the music itself. And what do you want to achieve in this section, or even this bar, this phrase, and then see how can I achieve that, and why do I not get it, or why the third not run. Maybe sometimes it's just tensing here, or tensing here. Like there must be some tensions, or the way you're not using right. If you know how to release, the correct point to release is all about finding that. And for different pieces, different composers, you need different way of approaching it. It's all about how to approach it and find it. Yeah.
Because you told me that you're learning Schubert Sonata.
Yes.
And Scriabin Sonata.
Yes.
Which Scriabin?
I'm working on the third one right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if, for the audience, is there a specific practice technique that you're applying to Scriabin, that you're trying to make it sound better, improve your technique? Is there any practice techniques that you're doing for Scriabin?
It have to be very specific, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think it's following the lines.
Okay.
It's sometimes it looks very complicated on the page.
Scriabin,
Yeah, it does. It looks complicated, and that's how I first find it when I start to get into Scriabin. I was like, so complicated, where do I start? But then actually, if you look carefully, maybe every bar or every 2 bars, he does a lot of typical chromatic, going down, going up. You always find the patterns. I think it's the patterns that helps a lot. Right. It helps memory. It helps your way of understanding the music. I used to feel that I need to take so much time to learn Scriabin, just to learn the piece itself, to understand what's going on. But then more and more experience come in, I realized there's always a pattern. Scriabin always talks about how he have mathematic 2 bars, 2 bars, 4 bars. So if you find the correct bits to following the correct line, you will see a lot of clever things he does, which makes total sense. So yeah, I don't think technique wise, obviously, you need to work around it. Sometimes you need to relax to jump into it. it's all about specific. I think it's really hard if I'm going to just say it like this now, but if you give me a bar or something, then there's always a way of approaching it. But yeah, understanding the music itself, I think you need to find the pattern, find the lines, because it all looks like ta-ta-ta-ta, but actually it's really clear if you just come down and take one thing out and put it and see. Sorry.
It's like, so understanding the logic behind the music
Exactly.
can help your memory, not just memory, but understanding the musical understanding.
Exactly. And it help you to realize where is the climax and where is the tension that's going. And then you feel more confident when you are playing it. You know, I know exactly what I'm doing, all this, despite how many notes or octave or technique, but I know exactly where I am. That's the center. I think you need to know where you are and what you wanted to do.
Right. So having that goal in mind, that musical goal in mind, you understand the piece, you know where the climaxes are, you know what the harmonies are, and you know how these harmonies blend and interact with each other. You know all that. Does that affect the way you practice a piece as well? Because if you don't know anything about the piece, the logic and the musicality and the climax, you have no context of your practice.
Exactly.
So you don't know what you're doing most of the time.
Exactly.
So would that be a fair explanation of why understanding the music is so important to practice?
I think so. It's not all about it, but you need the emotions, and you need to physically obviously work around it, but that's the basic, I think. Yeah.
When pianists say this person has a good sound, you've heard that a lot, right?
Yes, we all say that.
We all say that. What does it mean to have a good sound as a pianist?
It means it depends on who you're talking about, but if you ask me who has good sound, the first person I come in mind, there are obviously a lot of people, lot of them,
sure.
But the most recent, I guess it was already 2 years ago because of the pandemic, but Volodos,
he has a very good sound.
He's amazing. The way how he make the sound has so much varieties, and yeah, you just sit there, enjoy the beauty of those sound actually, but obviously he make it make sense within the context. But yeah, I think it's varieties which is the good sound. Nothing too striking in terms of some people make really big sound, but
sounds
not
ugly, like a really ugly sound.
And nothing like that. Or sometimes maybe some composer require that he has so much anger, he want that. So it really depends who you play, who you are, whose composition you are playing, and what message you wanted to dig out of it. So yeah, like I remember 2 years ago, me and my friends went to hear Volodos, and we come out just feel like, wow, our soul has been washed or something. But yeah, that's the good sound experience for sure that we enjoyed.
I think like a rebirth, like you're being born again.
With
this new sound.
Yeah.
Let's explore why Volodos can make that sound. Where do you think that comes from? Is it from the way he uses his shoulders and the way he uses his arms, or when you watch him, how do you think he makes that sound?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't dare to say I know why Volodos can do this thing. I don't know him personally. I only went to his live concerts. That's the closest I get to him. But just from seeing him, the weight, the shoulder, his, how relaxed he is as well. So, but yeah, I wouldn't dare to say how he made those sounds. I think it shouldn't come from me.
I think most people mistake piano playing as just a fingers instrument. It's much more than that, isn't it? Don't you agree? It's a whole body thing.
Yeah. We just, like we said earlier, it's not fingers. You need your fingers, but definitely
That's not
just
the only thing.
Of course not.
Yeah. You went to the Paderewski Piano Academy in Poland, is that correct?
Yeah, that was a few years ago. I think that was in 2016 17, 16, I can't remember. Yeah.
Can you tell us how you ended up there? How you ended up taking part in that academy?
First of all, I got to know from my professor Noriko, because she used to give master classes there, and she recommended me to apply for it. So I said, why not? So I applied, and I think we had to do some application procedures, and then for them to say yes or no thing. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I have heard it from my professor. That's why I got to know it, and I started to look into it. Also, plus at that time, I was very enthusiastic about going outside in the holiday period to study more. Like you said, it's very, very helpful, I think, to have fresh, new input outside term time, because you're with your professor all the time as well. It's nice to hear someone else's opinion, and yeah, I was just looking at lots of summer courses, and that's one of the ones I went to, because it was a concerto one that they provide orchestra for you to rehearse and perform. So that's not what a pianist could get every day. Some sort of luxury. So that was one of the master class I went in that summer.
What concerto did you bring?
I played Beethoven number 1. Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Yes.
The third movement.
Yes.
Yeah. Why did you choose that one? In particular?
I think at that time I had that in my repertoire, and that was the one I was working on, and that was the one in that period that was in my practice sessions and stuff. Why did I choose that one? Also, of course, musically, it's not as famous or well played as the third or fifth. But after play the third one, I thought it's nice to just play another one of his, but not the 5 or 4, which is so amazing as well. But I went for number 1. It was really enjoyable.
Was there a different approach when you practice a concerto as opposed to just solo repertoire? Are there different things you think about?
Yeah, you have to be aware of what's happening in the orchestra, but you don't hear any of that in your practice room physically. But you try to understand first. You study it, and you sit down with recordings of others and trying to listen, just get used to the feeling. And sometime you also put it on the headphone and just play along with it.
Oh, you do that too?
Yeah, but that's someone else's tempo, and that's someone else's interpretation, because you cannot control how they doing their rebatos or push their tempo. So you are limited with someone else's playing, but it's still very, very helpful to just get used to the sound there. And we do it a lot with friends. We ask friends to play our second piano.
Yes.
It's not the same as orchestra again, but it's better than nothing. And then the most important thing is when you are in practice room, you have to also imagine it's there rather than just playing what the piano parts needs.
Yes, because on the day you have to listen to the violins or the flutes coming in that are not necessarily playing the same melody as you.
Exactly.
It's going to be really distracting the first time.
And it's a collaboration. It's not just about you doing your tempo. You have to always be aware. It's like chamber music, but bigger than chamber music, because it's an orchestra. You have to engage with others. You have to be aware of others and trying to make as a whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did this, but I'm glad you mentioned the point about getting your friends to play the orchestral part, because I had quite a few rehearsals, and I used to have a few friends that I would call to do it for me. Sometimes I would not get the same friend to do it more than twice.
Oh, really?
Because you get used to their habits, and you always want to have something else to get used to train your ear.
Yeah.
And to listen.
Yeah.
Because if you get the same person to do it more than twice, you get used to what they're doing.
That's true.
So you always want to have a challenge of trying to play the piece with a different person playing the orchestral part. So then before you get to the real concert with a conductor and with all the orchestras, you already have that experience of having different people play with you.
Yes,
I don't know
spontaneous.
Spontaneous
Yes.
and flexibility, right?
Exactly. You have to be always flexible. If you just fix with one thing, it's not good. Then if you suddenly something else slightly different, you'll get really shocked.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that's actually I never thought of that personally. Probably because my friend never played the same every time. But no, I'm just always grateful that they help you out, and you were very luxurious to have many friends to go.
I forced some of them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so sometimes, and people have to practice the orchestral part. You can't just, some people are really good at sight reading, but not everyone is. So if you get someone who just sight reading your orchestral part, then it can be distracting if they are not doing it properly. So then not everyone can play Beethoven's orchestral part perfectly, so you have to have almost a focused person or few people to help you out and things.
Exactly. And you always hear these horror stories of professionals with no rehearsal time and they just go on stage and play. Yeah,
you hear so many of them, and that's why it's never secure. But what can you do? That's the beauty of our profession. Sometimes that's the beautiful concerto. It's risk. It's the risk not of yourself only, also with you and the orchestra together. And that's what we have to take in order to play concerto, I think. So that's just how it is.
More risk than solo recital?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, because if it's solo recital, you can pick up wherever you want. With orchestra there, you have to make sure you pick up at the right place and be able to pick up at the right place. So that requires the details of preparation, I guess, is how you prepare yourself. You have to always be prepared of, each pinpoint, that every bit you have a security place. So even if something goes wrong, it doesn't matter. You'll still be fine because you have your security there. But obviously you don't want that. So it's just a safety guard there. Yeah.
No, I agree with the solo repertoire. You have more space to be maybe creative and more flexible.
Flexible is the word. Yeah, I wouldn't say creative. You can create a lot of the things you cannot imagine. Actually, you cannot even think about. Sometimes it happens with orchestra, how they respond to you, how the conductor. So yeah, it can be more creative even with concertos as well, but it's more flexible for sure for yourself because you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this experience, but when I'm under pressure, there are some times where I play it a lot better than when I don't have any pressure. Is that quite a common thing with you as well?
It depends on the person, and it depends on how much pressure it is.
A lot.
And that goes well.
Yes.
Well, then that means you are pouring your heart out on the stage and your emotions are all there. I still think, even though you think it's a lot, probably it's not crazy that it will drive you mad, because if you actually don't have a balance of that, you need to know how to control it. Obviously, probably you did know how to control it and make it into something good. Because if you don't feel nervous, it's just flat.
True. Yeah.
And you want something that's really exciting there, and the nerves have the excitement for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your first time playing a concerto before going on stage? What was your feeling like? Before walking on stage in front of an orchestra with a conductor, the first time?
It's more about brainwashing myself. I'm okay. It's okay. So I think you just have to believe it should be okay. And you've done all the work you need to do. You know how you prepared for it. You should know what you're doing up there. It's just that human normal instinct thing that you feel nervous before something that's big. And that doesn't necessarily means is going to be a bad influence. It actually can be something really good if you accept it, actually.
Yes. But there's also a huge pressure, right, to play a concerto compared to a solo recital, because solo recital is just you. With a concerto, there's a conductor and maybe 40 people
Yes, that's true.
relying on you as well.
Yes. Well, you have to try to not focus on that. You have to try to see the good side of it. Trying to turn the pressure into something that's more positive. If you think there's 40 people, if I do something wrong and then there will be collapsing or whatever, then it's not positive enough for you to keep going. But if you think, what a luxury, there's 40 people I'm going to play with together, it's more inspiring, and you more likely going to do a great job.
What do you think about classical music in the 21st century? Is it not going well? Is it not popular, or do you think it's slowly getting popular?
I haven't really done my market research on this, but to go into the concert hall and see the audience, I guess we still have a lot of appreciation on this. I wouldn't say it's not getting better, but yes, you can see a lot of old people. You can see a lot of students, which are, thank God, because that's what we need. We need the young generation, or even the younger generation, to be interested and to be passionate about it, and to want to persuade and do this thing as something serious.
Yeah.
So I think it is not in its worst case. We are not in a actual war. That probably will be even worse. Sometimes you create inspirations with war, but that do destroy a lot of education-wise.
Yes.
Even the pandemic itself kills a lot of opportunities and potentials, I think. But people are longing for it, and hopefully it will just get better and better. Who knows?
When I talk to people who don't listen to classical music, they always say that it's elitist, it's difficult to understand, it's for rich people, it's pretentious, it's arrogant, and it's too traditional. Do you think let's focus on the traditional point. Do you think that's a problem with trying to get new young people to be interested in classical music?
There's nothing wrong about traditional, I personally think, and we need to know where we come from. We need to know what used to be there to develop. This gets a bit more broad, I get more wide. Humans always need to develop on top of something. If we develop from scratch, then you have a long way to go, and it's all that traditional that used to be there that makes us today here. So I think traditional is fabulous. The more we have history there, the more we learn about it, the more we can develop. So I think when someone says you're traditional, I think that's a compliment.
Right.
Yeah. And well, it depends on how he said it. But I would like to take it as a compliment. And we need to learn what used to be there, able to have a better development, for sure.
I recently read an essay by Alfred Brendal. It's called Recitals and Programs.
Oh, okay.
And there was a line inside that hasn't left my memory for a very long time, because I was just trying to understand it. He didn't really explain that much in the essay. And I'll quickly recite it to you.
Okay.
He said that when we play old music, so Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, we shouldn't treat them like, quote, titans in a museum. We shouldn't treat them like masterpieces in a museum that are only looked at and only preserved, and they shouldn't be changed by modern people. And he said that instead, modern people should take these old music and to recontextualize it in the modern world. And then it got me really confused, because classical music, as Leonard Bernstein used to say, is like exact music, right? You're given a score, and on the score you have so many detailed instructions from the composer, where the pianos are, where the fortes are, where the phrasing ends and starts and ends. Articulation, what you should play, staccato, accent, tenuto, all these really specific things. But then people always find a way to make it themselves. But there's this really narrow framework to work in. I don't know, what's your opinion on this? How do we recontextualize old pieces to the modern world? Do you have an opinion on this? I don't understand.
That's a really difficult question, actually, and I've been thinking of that as well. Once I read this book saying that we are just following, the score. We're supposed to, classical pianists or classical musicians, supposed to follow the score and bring out the message that the composer used to mean, or how they used to think. It doesn't matter what we think, it matters what they think. And there's a lot of argument about that. And
what do you think?
I haven't exactly made my mind up yet, and I don't think we should just have a right and wrong. There's for me, it's not Bach who's playing Bach right now, it's the musicians that lives nowadays that plays, and we will never play the way how Bach wanted to be, because we are not him. And what we could do is that trying our best to understand what he wanted, but in the end of the day, as I said, it's not he's playing it, so it's what we wanted to do, and everyone plays Bach differently, even if it's the same piece. It can get it can get dangerous that we think, oh, we're going to lost the tradition of Bach's real playing or whatever. But it is we who are living nowadays, and Bach is not alive anymore, and we are playing music because we like it. So I think whoever who's playing the traditional music just need to find the meaning inside, find yourself actually inside of it, and to not be arrogant and throw what Bach wants, of course, because we are playing Bach, but it's all about exploring ourselves and make it good and useful and presentable for others as well. So it's a really hard one. I haven't made up my mind. I'm still swimming and trying to find it. But I think as long as we can find a purpose of it and we enjoy it, and others can agree or not agree, but we are sharing, right? Everyone is sharing their performance to the audience, and you always get people saying that was fabulous or that was just not acceptable. So you cannot please everyone. It's what the player thinks the most and matters, I think. And the thing that Brendal said, I think I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and it's about ourselves, I think. It's about people that's alive right now, I think.
The statement's correct, but how we do it is not clear.
Well, from him.
Yeah. So what he said was correct, but we're still not sure on how to achieve what he wants. So to recontextualize.
Well, that's maybe the question he left for us to find out. Yeah.
Maybe.
And everyone, probably doesn't want to set a exact right and wrong, because then people might go extreme and goes the wrong way. So it's interesting to figure out ourselves as well. Yeah.
Just a final question, just to wrap up the episode. Is there a piece of music that you've played that you feel like it was written for you specifically? Or have you not found that piece yet?
I have moments that I think, this piece is just perfect for this period. I had moments like that. Actually, many moments like that. But then it changed because you change all the time as well. And pianist wise, musician wise, person wise, is never just the same. So I could say a piece that in my first year bachelor, which I loved so much and think that was it. And then that was the one for me that that's why I should play it. Obviously he didn't write it for me, but I feel so much engaged with it. And yeah, there are lots of pieces like that.
Which piece was that in the film?
that was the Schubert A major one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Monica, thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.